What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of The Remote Real Estate Investor. I'm Michael Albaum, and today with me I have Daniel Blue, a Forbes contributor, author, business owner, entrepreneur extraordinaire, and he's going to be talking to us today about how to tap into your retirement accounts, possibly penalty and tax-free. So let's get into it. Daniel Blue, man, thanks for coming on and hanging out with me. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, Michael, excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. So for those people who aren't familiar with you, give us the elevator speech of kind of who you are, where you come from, and what is it that you're doing today?
Yeah, I'm in the entrepreneur space. I've got a company here in Las Vegas. We've got about 13 employees, and the problem that we solve in the marketplace is helping people access money in their retirement accounts, penalty and tax-free. So we have a lot of fun with that and teaching people how to liberate their 401ks, free up their IRAs, and have them use the money the way that they want to use it and not having to rely on Wall Street and the IRS telling them what to do. So like I said, have a lot of fun doing that. I kind of stumbled into entrepreneurship. I don't have this cool Gary Vee story where it's like I was a hustler out the womb, and I was running side hustles.
Slinging candy on the schoolyard ground.
Yeah, like grabbing flowers from one neighbor's house and then going to the next door neighbors and then ringing their doorbell and then selling those flowers, right? Like I don't have any cool things like that. I played sports growing up, and I think sports had a lot to do with me becoming a business owner. I think there's a lot of parallels between sports and business. But really, when I look back at my story, when I was 12 is when adversity hit. My parents got divorced. My dad moved to Mexico, and now it's just my mom and I. And we lived in California, high cost of living. My mom's gone all day, working all day, doing the best that she can do to provide. And that left me with a lot of time on my hands. And with my dad gone, and I didn't have answers as far as why he left and why he wasn't coming back and why he lived in a foreign country, I definitely rebelled a lot. And I started to seek, other people to kind of fill the void that my dad left, right? I was easily influenced by other people and hung out with the wrong crowd. So started ditching school, smoking weed, drinking alcohol, just making a lot of bad decisions. And I just stumbled along in high school. I barely graduated high school. And I didn't really have a plan on what I was going to do with my life. And 18 years old, there's a few things that happened that definitely shaped who I am today. Ended up getting a woman pregnant, got addicted to Oxycontin, and dropped out of college. But while all this was happening, I stumbled upon sales. And sales was definitely a gateway for me to create an extra income and a way out, and also teaching me how to become a business owner, because obviously you got to learn how to communicate, how to sell. And I didn't have, again, these aspirations on being a business owner. I just saw my mom struggle, and I was like, man, like, I don't want to be that way. I want to be able to help her. I want to be able to help myself. Like, I got to figure out a way to make more money. And sales was that path and being able to do that. And sales opened up a lot of networking, a lot of relationships. And that's how I was able to find the self-directed space and being able to, help people, really get creative with their retirement accounts.
Man, what an incredible background and story you've had, Daniel. I'm just curious, what kind of sales did you discover that really opened your eyes?
Yeah, I was in the real estate space. So people wanting to learn how to do, flips, tax liens, rentals and things of that nature. So was in the real estate coaching space. And that's kind of how I got introduced to the self-directed retirement account arena. I would talk to these clients and they would be saying things along the lines of, I use my retirement account to invest in real estate. And that was so foreign to me because I always thought IRAs and 401ks was just for stocks and mutual funds. The idea of using a retirement account outside the stock market, was so new to me. And, that world was open to me. And I was like, man, I really like this world. I've always had a knack for wanting to learn about the financial space. So that was, definitely a seed that was planted in me. And then about 7 years ago, I got into the self-directed space. And it's been, a fun journey since.
Oh, man, that's amazing. So for everyone listening to the episode, if your ears didn't perk up when Daniel said that you can use your retirement accounts and tap into those to invest in real estate, I mean, this is really, really cool stuff. So, Daniel, tell us, how do you do it? What's the secret sauce? I mean, because this has been always told to so many Americans that this is untouchable money.
Yeah, and it's the thought process we've been conditioned to think that this retirement account that we have is for when you get old. It's for when you retire. And if you're fortunate enough to take money out of the retirement account, you're going to pay 30% in penalties and taxes. Right. So that's what we're conditioned to think is it's going to cost me an arm and a leg to touch my own money. And I actually can't even touch my money until I'm retired. Right. And those are myths. Right. So, people that have a 401k from an old job, for example, or an IRA, there's a way for you to convert that money into an account called a solo 401k. And this is a great account for the solopreneur. If you're listening to this right now and maybe you want to get started in your real estate journey, maybe you're trying to get your first flip, maybe you've got some kind of side hustle. Basically, if you have some kind of business activity and there's no W-2 employees in the picture, then you qualify for the solo 401k. And the solo 401k can do a lot of cool things. One, it can be self-directed. So, you can invest into a real estate syndication deal. You can invest into, a private equity play, right? But what makes a solo 401k so unique is it has a loan feature where essentially you can be your own bank and pull money out of the account, penalty and tax free, and use that money however you want, which includes paying off high interest rate credit card debt. And I want to spend a little bit of time, Michael, talking about that subject because, we were talking off air about, your audience and kind of what they're about. Kind of being more on the newer side of the journey. Maybe you're thinking about starting a business. Maybe you've only been in business for a year, 2 years, couple years. I can relate. I started this business 3 years ago using 0% credit cards. I made a lot of mistakes in my earlier days, not valuing my credit score, not playing the credit score game. And I think anyone listening to this right now, credit is king, right? They say cash is king. Cool. I get it. You got to have cash, but you need to have a really great credit score, right? Like if you're buying a property with private lending money, how are you going to exit that deal? Like, okay, cool. Sell it. Great. But maybe you want to refinance it and have it be VRBO, right? Or rent it out. You got to have good credit. And I used to think that I didn't need credit cards. Like, man, I have cash. I don't even need a credit card. I was 20, 21 years old and I was a dummy. I was ignorant. Credit score is a game, right? Like you want to have a 700, a 750, close to 800, right? Because the better your credit score is, the more you have the ability to go to a bank and get cheap money, right? Mm-hmm. The problem with credit scores, though, Michael, is credit utilization rates. And a lot of people struggle with credit card debt. If you're listening to this right now and you've got more than $10,000 in credit card debt and you're paying double-digit interest, like not only are you losing money to the banks, but your credit score is suffering. And not having a good credit score can cost you money on your car insurance. It can cost you money on, other kind of car loans, a mortgage, your ability to refinance, right? Like so many different connections with the credit score. And one thing that I've seen a lot of our clients do is being able to be their own bank, where essentially they access the money from their retirement account, penalty and tax free, pay off their high interest rate credit card debt in one shot. So now there's no more monthly payments to discover. And now instead of paying the credit card companies, they're just paying their retirement account back. They're paying their solo 401k back. So they're their own bank. They're saving a buttload on interest. And then now their credit score goes up. And guys, when you're a real estate investor and you're trying to lock down deals, like it's just make your life easier and have a really good credit score. So if you've got credit card debt, solo 401k might be a play for you to, break free from that debt once and for all.
That's incredible. And you were saying for who a solo 401k is for, and you said there's no W-2 employees in the picture. But so if someone's got a side hustle, maybe they have a W-2 day job, but they've got a side hustle doing whatever, it's just themselves. Are you saying that they qualify for the solo 401k?
Yeah, let's just say, they're in your neck of the woods, Michael. They've got a high-paying tech job, W-2 salary, but they've got this side hustle on the side. If they have a 401k from an old job, a previous corporate job, or maybe they have an IRA, they could technically convert that account into the solo 401k, keep working their day job, make their W-2 income, but because they have this business activity going on the side, they qualify for the solo 401k. So now they can have their retirement account money go in the solo 401k, and they can do a lot of cool things within that account.
That's incredible. So I actually took a loan from my 401k, traditional 401k, and my traditional employer, my past job. But the limit was like, I think 50,000 or half of the account balance. Is there a limit to the loan size that you can take from a solo 401k?
Yeah, so there is that limit, and it's 50% of the account value or 50,000, whichever number is less. So think of that card that you have in your back pocket that you can use for different things. Like it's just like a Swiss Army knife. Maybe you want to use some of that money to pay off your personal credit card debt so you can get a better credit score. So then you can go to the bank and get a much larger loan, an actual loan from the bank that allows you to take down this property that you want to buy for 400K, right? Or, maybe you just need a bigger down payment, right? So you use the loan feature on the solo 401K for that down payment, right? To actually use the solo 401K, the money inside of the account to purchase real estate, this is where it gets a little, what's the right word? It's a little bit hairy. And I talk about this in my book a lot, and I can just kind of give the brief rundown here so I don't put your audience to sleep. But when you use your retirement account to own real estate inside of the account, set aside the loan. I'm not talking about the loan, but your retirement account owns real estate. There's two different types of real estate it can own. It can own passive or it can own active. If it's passive, easy peasy. And when I say passive, I'm talking private lending, a promissory note, right? You're just lending the money and you're a passive investor, right? You're not actively managing that deal. That's easy peasy. The IRS lets you do that all day long. There's really not a lot of restrictions there. If you want to do an active deal and your retirement account owns the property, that's when the IRS is like, whoa. Like, you can't do this, you can't do that. And they call those prohibited transactions. So if you just Google self-directed retirement account prohibited transactions, it'll like give you the IRS code of kind of what I'll summarize. But basically, if your retirement account owns this property in a cul-de-sac that you want to flip, you can't commingle funds. Like, you can't use your retirement account money and then money you have in savings to take down this deal. Okay. If your retirement account owns the property, you can't do any of the repairs yourself. You have to hire a third party. If your retirement account owns this property, you can't live in the property. If your retirement account owns this property, you can't rent it out to your sister or your dad. You can't rent it out to a lineal descendant. So those are some of the prohibited transactions you have to be aware of if you're going to use your retirement account to actually own a property. Like if you want to flip it, if you want to do a rental. So I always just, we want to have people know ahead of time what they can and can't do. And that's why an education company like ours exists. So as you can see, based off of just listening to what I'm saying, if you're going to use your solo 401k or self-directed IRA to invest into passive deals, it's easy peasy. A ton of people do it. There's not a ton of restrictions. When you start going down the path of active deals, that's where you got to think about some things like financing. How are you going to finance that property? Who's going to do the work? Making sure, you're not living in it and making sure you're aware of some of those restrictions.
That's so interesting. What are your thoughts on taking a loan from your self-directed or from your 401k, then you're paying back the interest to yourself and using those dollars to invest in a passive deal so that the dollars you're earning are going to be tax-free and usable today?
Yeah. So again, disclaimer, I'm not securities licensed. I'm not trying to sell investments here. I'm not giving financial advice. So, definitely run things by, someone that's qualified in that space. And that's what I love about what we do. We sell solutions. We don't sell investments. And I think that's a big problem in the financial space, especially these big, massive Wall Street companies. They're just trying to shove products down your throat and make a big fat commission. And, people have to eat, people have to make money. I respect that. But that's what I love about the self-directed space is you have so many options on where you want to invest your money. You can use the money to invest into crypto, franchises, private equity, private placements, PPMs, promissory notes, private lending, precious metals, right? Like you're the captain of the ship, not some financial advisor that's just using your money to make fees to cover his yacht payment, right? So that's enough of me beating up Wall Street. But to answer your question directly, obviously when you invest money, taxes are a big thing. And, that's another restriction. If your retirement account owns, 123 Apple Tree Road, and that's the house it owns, you don't get to write off that property, right? There's no depreciation because the IRS is like, hey, we're not going to give you depreciation and tax deferred or, tax free if it's Roth, right? So they don't give you the depreciation. And I know that's a really big deal, in the real estate investing space. So I'm a bigger proponent of, you personally, my just opinion is, if you're going to do an active deal where like you're an equity member, you're getting some pass through, it's an active deal. Like if that's the way the deal is structured, I would rather take a loan from the plan, and now because it's cash, it's outside of the retirement account, I can use it to put into this property over here, and now I don't have to deal with commingling money. I don't have to deal with restrictions from the IRS, because this asset is not held inside the account. The asset is held outside of the account. So now I get the tax benefits. I get to call the shots. I'm just on the hook for paying back my loan. And it's a 5-year loan. The interest rate is typically prime +2. So as we're doing this podcast right now, government hasn't raised interest rates just yet. But there's a chance by the time you listen to this podcast, interest rates have gone up. But right now, as we're doing it, interest rate on a solo 401k loan is like 5.25%. But that interest goes back to your retirement account. So when you're taking a loan from your solo 401k, you definitely need to think opportunity cost, right? Because you could leave that money in the solo 401k and it could be invested into some investment that's earning you interest. It also could be losing money, right? I mean, like the NASDAQ is down right now, so a lot of people are losing money. So there's that argument, but you want to be wise with the money you take out as a loan, whether you use the money to pay off 20% interest rate credit card debt. I always think that's a pretty good decision to think about, because if your retirement account is only making you 10% a year, but your credit card debt's costing you 20% a year, that math doesn't help you, doesn't serve you, right? So I think that's always a good play. And then to what you just said earlier, the idea of taking a loan from your solo 401k and putting it into this real estate deal where you get some really sweet tax benefits and way of generating income, that allows you to pay back your loan. I always think that's a play worth looking into for sure.
Awesome. What are some other ways that people can tap into their retirement accounts?
Basically, if you've got a 401k with your current employer, you're pretty much SOL, unless the 401k plan has a loan feature and you do what Michael did, right? Basically, you call your 401k company through your job and say, hey, do I have a loan feature in my plan documentation? If they say yes, then you can most likely do what Michael just did, right? You can take 50% of the account value or $50,000, and make sure when you take that money out, you have a plan for that money, right? You're not going to use that money to go on a cruise, right? So like make sure it makes sense for you to do that. And then really just the easiest way is if you have that 401k, from an old job or that IRA that you have, converting it into either a self-directed IRA, which some of you guys may be aware of. I think most people are aware of a self-directed IRA compared to a solo 401k. A lot of people aren't aware of the solo 401k. So if you're an entrepreneur and you qualify for the solo 401k, I think it's a better account than the self-directed IRA, because the solo and the self-directed IRA invest the same way. They can invest outside the stock market. They can invest in real estate. They can invest in alternative assets. But a couple big difference makers is the solo 401k has the loan feature. You can be your own bank with the solo 401k. There's no loan feature on an IRA. You can't be your own bank. So that's a big game changer. And then, for the people that have some pretty good earned income coming in, you can only contribute $6,000 to $7,000 a year into an IRA, new money. Whereas a solo 401k, new money, you can contribute, really close to about $60,000 per year. And that's a really good benefit, especially if you're going to start tapping into the Roth contribution. We've got quite a few people out there that, have pretty good business income, pretty good earned income, and they're maxing out their contributions. And imagine putting $50,000 a year into a Roth solo 401k and then, seeing that bad boy grow to $500,000, $1 million over a period of time. And then now that money is 100% tax free.
That's incredible. So how does someone open a solo 401k? I mean, physically, what are the things that someone has to do other than show some side business income?
Yeah. So then really you just want to determine where you want the solo 401k held. And just being transparent with your listeners, Fidelity, Vanguard, TD Ameritrade, great solid companies, been around for decades. They offer solo 401ks. A solo 401k is still a solo 401k at the end of the day. They might have some branding, marketing term, but it's still the same vehicle.
Okay.
It's it's a Tesla. A Tesla's a Tesla, right? It's the same vehicle. But just because it's with a different company doesn't mean it's different. But what is a distinction between a solo 401k with the Wall Street boys and a solo 401k with a company like ours is this. A solo 401k with the Wall Street boys, you're just limited to buying stocks. So Tesla, mutual funds, ETFs, index funds, right? So if you like the idea of having your money just invested in the stock market, a solo 401k with those guys makes sense.
Okay.
The difference between a solo 401k with them and a company like ours and other competitors of our company is we're in the self-directed space. So our solo 401ks are self-directed, meaning you can invest outside the stock market. You can invest into crypto. You can invest into private placements, private equity, real estate, promissory notes, things of that nature. So you want to decide, okay, you want the vehicle, you want the solo 401k. What kind of gas do you want to fill that vehicle up with? Is it stock market gas? Okay, cool. Here are these companies, legit companies, Fidelity, Vanguard, right? Or do you want this other kind of gas, the alternative gas, where you can invest money outside the stock market? And that's where you need a self-directed solo 401k.
Awesome. And as far as the business income that someone would have to show on the side in order to qualify for a self-directed solo 401k, what does that look like? Are there any limitations? Or if my brother pays me $25 for, mowing his lawn, does that count?
Yeah. So basically to actually set up a solo 401k, you can take your IRA or your 401k from your old job and get it moved over into a solo 401k. And you can do that as long as your business is set up, right? As long as that business, that side hustle that doesn't have W-2 employees is established. Maybe you have an LLC or set up as a sole proprietorship. You can set up the solo 401k and fund it from a previous retirement account, 401k from a previous job or an IRA. You can do that all day long. But what you can't do, let's just say your business isn't made any money yet. Let's just say there's no income coming in. You just cannot contribute new money into the plan, right? So The way to contribute new money into a solo 401k, you need to have W-2 wages come from your business. So your business has to have enough earnings coming in, enough income coming in where it can pay you a W-2 wage. And then you can take some of that W-2 money and then contribute it into the solo 401k.
So Daniel, just so I understand clearly, so the business that you have has to pay you, the owner, a W-2 wage, but it can't pay, you can't have employees, right?
Yeah. So you can have your wife as a W-2 employee with the business that is sponsoring the solo 401k. You can collect a W-2 wage from your business that, holds the solo 401k or tied to the solo 401k. You just can't have anyone else but you or your spouse. You can have contractors, so 1099 contractors tied to the business. They just can't be W-2.
Okay, got it. So for all the real estate investors out there, if they own property inside of an LLC, would this be potentially a good fit for them?
Yeah, I mean, as long as there's no W-2 employees in the picture, they could take one of those LLCs. Let's just say they've got an LLC that's they're like, man, I got some good income coming in. I need some tax benefits. Let me open up a solo 401k with this LLC. And then they can start flowing some of the money from the LLC, into the solo 401k. Maybe they've got this 401k from their old job or this IRA, and they're just like, man, I'm not a big fan of this money in the stock market. Maybe it's with Fidelity or Charles Schwab or Edward Jones, and they're in mutual funds and stocks. And they're just like, man, stock market is not my thing. I'm not a big fan of it. I love the idea of just moving this money into a solo 401k, and then I can have some more control over the money. So they could definitely do that. And then they could take some of the income, that they're earning through their real estate investments, and be able to start contributing, that active income, into that plan.
Very, very interesting. Well, Daniel, I know that you also wrote a book. Can you share with everyone what the title of the book is called and where they might be able to find it?
Yeah, so it's called the Blueprint to Your Best Retirement. And our company, so the company I own, Quest Education, we've got over 1,000 customers in all 50 states. And we help solve really three main problems. People that have high interest rate credit card debt, people that need capital for their business, and people that want to invest outside the stock market. And the vehicle to solve all three of those problems is helping that person tap into their 401k or IRA penalty and tax free and liberate their retirement account, right? They can use their retirement account to pay off their high interest rate debt. They can use their retirement account to fund their business. They can use their retirement account to, invest outside the stock market, like in real estate, right? So that's what we've been doing over the years, and everything that we do is over the phone. Our customers are in all 50 states. So it dawned on me, I'm like, man, like we're spending hours and hours with these customers over the phone. It's awesome, but like we want to impact more people. I want to be able to have a book that people can download or they can get shipped out to them, and it's a book that is really easy to understand. A lot of the financial books out there, they're just super overwhelming. They use legalese and these financial terms that just go over most people's heads. And I wanted to create a book that was just really basic and easy to connect the dots. And so that's, was my intention behind the book. So the book teaches people how to access their retirement account penalty and tax free, how to use their retirement account in some of the ways that we just talked about, paying off their debt, funding their business, investing in real estate. I talk about the Roth strategy and creating that bucket of money tax-free, like we mentioned. I get more into detail in the book. So, pretty confident that you can pick up that book, Blueprint to Your Best Retirement, and get at least one nugget that you can take action on immediately. And then the book can be found at my website. It's danielblue.me. That's Daniel Blue, BLUE, just like the color.me. And my website's got my book, access to all of my podcasts. I got my podcasts on a few different, all the major platforms, called How Winners Win. I talk a lot about, winning in the financial space, the entrepreneur space. So that's where you can find more of me there as well. And then access to my course and a bunch of other free information. And then, if you have money in a retirement account, you're like, holy cow, like I did not know I could access this money penalty and tax free. I want to learn more. There's a way for you to do that on the website as well. So it's a ton of free information on the site.
Amazing. Well, Daniel, this was a wealth of knowledge, man. Thank you so much for sharing, and looking forward to chatting with you soon.
Thank you again, Michael. Appreciate being here.
You got it. Take care. Alrighty, everyone, that was our episode. A big thank you to Daniel. Super insightful, super informative, a lot of really good actionable takeaways. If you're interested in learning more, definitely reach out to Daniel and his company and his team. As always, if you like the episode, feel free to leave us a rating or a review wherever it is you listen to our podcast, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Happy investing.